Welcome to the Good Intentions Show on the UI Media Network, and I am Tim Ray. I'm your host. I'm here with Dr. Jim Millhouse. He's a practicing clinical psychologist and also an author of a book called The Parent's Guide to Sports Psychology. And today we're going to be talking about the mind and how it works and how do we use it, and can we use it in a way that's going to benefit ourselves throughout our day. And Jim, thank you for coming in.
All right, my pleasure.
All right.
Good to be here.
So, Doc, people talk about the mind. We have over 70,000 thoughts a day. Majority of the thoughts are negative and repetitive and actually harmful to ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So, you say that you have our mind has certain ways of functioning. So once we learn how that works, we can then utilize it better for enjoyable day, for having a better life, right?
Yeah, for accomplishing more effectively anything that we want to do.
Okay. Well, give me some of the basic structures of the mind. What are some common denominators of how it works that people may not know,
Well, the knowledge of how the mind works has come from a lot of sources. I've got a master's in educational psychology, and during that time, I learned all about, specifics in education of how the mind works. And then in research that we did in the medical school at Michigan State, we
That's where you got your PhD.
Yeah, where I got my PhD. We identified a lot of other mechanical ways that the mind works, and it works mechanically just like the rest of the body, and our body works mechanically, and everybody knows that, and it works, physiologically according to certain chemical reactions and things like that. Well, the mind has certain laws and principles that it works by, and once you know that, you can use it more effectively, like a smartphone, for example, or like learning to drive a car.
I think that's brilliant. Like, can you give me a main principle that how it
yeah, for example, with like what we say to ourselves, if we say, "Oh, we're going to have a good day," our mind goes, "Okay, we're going to have a good day." If we go, "Oh, this is going to be a horrible experience," or "This test is going to be really difficult," we will tend to struggle with that test and struggle with that day. What we believe to be true tends to become true to some extent. If we learn how to focus correctly for, let's say, a sports competition that we have coming up, or for taking a test, or for presenting a paper in public, if we learn how to focus correctly for that, it'll be much easier to be able to accomplish our goals and do what we want to do.
No, I think that's fascinating because you talk about in your book the ideal performance state, and that's basically a focusing, in which we'll talk about further here in a minute. But with the mind, understanding how the mind works and understanding how it functions and how we could utilize it, I think such a critical piece of that we're not taught in school. We're not taught this when we're taught math, we're taught English, we're taught history, made up history for the most part. But what you're talking about really is kind of the power of intention, the power of perception. What you perceive creates what you experience in a way, because that's how the mind functions.
That's right, and the mind again works mechanically, and so we have to use that or learn how to use that. For example, in my hypnosis weight loss program, one of the first things I do is have people imagine the future, themselves in the future, doing very well. Well, you want to do that big and bright because that's the way the mind works. The bigger and the brighter. You want to use the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and olfactory representation systems. You want to feel that it has already been accomplished, even though it hasn't been accomplished. In your mind, you want to create the feeling that it's already been accomplished.
Because the subconscious mind only understands the present moment. When we get back from break, Doctor, let's talk about this visualization process and how we incorporate our intentions with this big visualization process, and then how we can use that not only, of course, in sports, but how we use it in everyday life and create this ideal performance state of mindset and state of being, which I think is most important for everyone to learn how to do. So we'll be right back, and hang in there. We'll see you in a second. Hi, my name is Tim Ray. I'm the founder of the United Intentions Foundation at unitedintentions.org. Everything is energy, and that's all there's to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. There can be no other way. And this is not philosophy, this is physics. Now, I just gave you a quote from, not me, but from Albert Einstein. He said a long, long time ago. So what does he mean by matching your frequency of the reality you want to experience? First, you have to realize that not only as humans, but everything is made up of energy. And at an atomic level, everything's vibrating at certain frequencies. Even on a collective level, we're vibrating at a certain frequency. This is very important to know. Once you understand that, you're closer to understanding what Einstein meant by matching our reality and matching the frequency, you'll have that experience. Stay with me here, because our thoughts, feelings, and emotions vibrate at specific and unique frequencies. There's a physical phenomenon going on and with our thoughts and feelings, and we have to realize that whatever state of being that we create through our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, we will attract that experience. That's the law of attraction. So it behooves us to choose our thoughts carefully, at least be aware of our state of being, because that's the experience we will have. Learn more at unitedintentions.org and begin manifesting your passions one intention at a time. Welcome back. I'm Tim Ray on the Good Intention Show. I'm here with Dr. Jim Millhouse, author of the Parents Manual of Sports Psychology, the Parents Manual. And I just find it fascinating because one of the things when I read your book, which is fantastic, is this ideal performance state. Creating this ideal performance state. This is the time, for example, when Michael Jordan's in the zone and he's just popping those balls in the basket, not missing any, because he's in the ideal performance state.
That's right.
And you're saying outside of just sports, we could have our children and ourselves to create a state of being where we're in this ideal performance state.
That's right.
So tell us, you mentioned a little bit about the mind earlier, and we talked about the visualization process. Well, tell us some steps of how people can move themselves into that, because I'm sure we are at times, don't even realize it, right?
Well, in fact, an Olympian that I worked with in an interview said it better than I've ever been able to say it. And he said, up to this time, the coaches have always told us to put the game face on, but until I showed him, he said nobody's been able to tell us step by step how to put the game face on. And putting the game face on or being in the zone is the ideal performance state. And so we get to the zone by maximizing all the aspects of the ideal performance state. You got to be focused in the right time sequence, basically in the present. You got to be saying the good things to yourself rather than the bad things to yourself. You have to believe that things are going to go well, because the mind has a tendency, or the mind-body has a tendency to create whatever we believe is true. Mm. And so if we think we're an idiot, it'll create idiot behavior for us.
And idiot experiences.
And idiot experiences. Yeah. I one time worked with a patient when I was at Auburn who thought that he was a jerk, basically. Mm-hmm. And a schlemiel was a word he used.
Sometimes we are.
Yeah. But he believed that,
yeah.
And all I did was work with him in his unconscious in hypnosis to have him believe that he was something else, and his experience totally changed.
See, the subconscious runs 95% of the brain, so it's really in charge, right?
Yes.
So it seems almost such a challenge to put ourselves in this ideal performance state if we have so many thoughts and feelings and emotions working against us because they're programmed by the negative subconscious mind. So you deal with below the threshold of consciousness when you're trying to reprogram somebody to put them in the ideal performance state?
Well, in part. There's a lot of parts to it. There's a lot of moving parts.
Sure.
For example, like in the hypnosis weight loss program, we can use hypnosis to be able to reach the habit level of behavior. because humans are set up to not have to learn everything, how to do everything every time they do it. We learn it and then it goes into the unconscious automatically. We don't have to figure out how to move to open a door. I mean, we'd be paralyzed if we had, okay, we have to move this muscle or whatever. And but so that's all automatic. Well, what we believe about ourselves, what we believe is possible, is all automatic too. But we can go ahead and change that by going back into the unconscious where those automatic patterns are stored and change those patterns. Then we'll automatically do something like, for instance, a person losing weight needs to change behavior. They need to not eat the same food or not eat as much. They need to exercise. And how come we don't do that automatically? Well, because it's behaviors, it's automatic behaviors that we do. When you go ahead and reach in to the unconscious and you can train people to be able to think differently, then automatically they do different things.
And this is where the hypnosis comes into play.
Yeah, the hypnosis lets people access that habit level of behavior.
Right.
So they can change the habits and change the automatic ways that we think about ourselves, that we do things, what we, change our feelings. You can change all those things by reaching into that habit level of behavior.
Well, and you worked with Olympians, as you said, and professional sports people who make a living out of this. And is there ever a time when you can't get them to get themselves into that ideal state of performance?
I haven't found that to happen so far. But I've been doing it for 100 years or so. But the thing is that like I describe this in my book, all the things people need to do and how the mind works.
Right.
And a person may be doing something, like they may be entering into a contest, but they don't really believe they're going to be successful. Guaranteed, they're not going to be successful, except by accident.
Yeah.
But generally, they're not going to be successful. So you go ahead and maximize all the components of the ideal performance state, and when you do that, that moves you close to the zone or even into the zone.
I love that because this is such a powerful thing to do, and to have techniques to get you into this performance state, because this could help kids in college studying for tests.
Oh yeah, it can help kids in primary school and secondary school and college, and it can help executives. I had one executive one time that I worked with him on his golf game. And he said, my business is I buy and sell companies, and if I can put a better presentation on, it can be worth millions of dollars to me. Can I use that? And I go, yeah. So we worked on that, and I guess he's doing really well.
So, but you focused on the sports aspect because your background has been in sports psychology.
Yeah, and that was kind of the first demand, and plus with sports, how you're doing right away.
Right.
Unless you have judges that have their own agendas, but usually in numbers, how you're doing. Right. And for example, I taught basically this program and taught people how to use their mind for an elite swim team in Atlanta. And following that, every single person had a personal record. Some of them, many personal records.
It seems like a 1, 2, 3 punch. And we get back from break, Doctor, let's talk about some of these successes and get more specific into how, not only through your assistance, but how we can actually do this ourselves and train ourselves and put ourselves into that performance state and have success, especially in an anxiety-ridden situation, right? We'll be right back. Hang in there. Hi, I'm Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation. I want you to imagine a world where bullying doesn't exist. Or how about your child wakes up in the morning and is grateful for everything they have, or they actually believe in himself or herself. On top of that, imagine this. Imagine your child understands that their thoughts and feelings create what they experience. All this is possible with our Imagine If program. And it's all about social emotional learning, showing children how their thoughts and feelings create what they experience. To learn more, go to imagineifprogram.org.
What if you could have whatever you desired with a simple thought? Wishful thinking? Science has proven that thoughts can change our reality. Join the movement and be part of an interactive virtual community that helps you take control of your life through the power of intentions. Learn to create the life you desire, one intention at a time. Sign up today for your free account and start creating.
Hi, I'm Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation. And how would you like to have a formula for manifesting whatever you want in your life? You think it's that easy? Well, maybe not that easy, but you could start out with this. Understanding that it's all about creating a state of being. Your state of being, how you act throughout your day, how you feel about yourself throughout the day, and being conscious of that in any given moment. And understanding these three principles: repetition, expectancy, and meaning. And adding those three principles into your life could change and create the state of being that you would need to actually manifest what you want. Remember, repetition, expectancy, expecting what you really want, repeating what you want, and also adding meaning to what you want creates that state of being, a fertile land and fertile soil for you to attract what you truly want to experience. To learn more, go to unitedintentions.org. Welcome back to the Good Intentions Show. I'm Tim Ray. I'm sitting here with Dr. Jim Millhouse. He's author of the Parent's Manual of Sports Psychology, if I said that correct. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the ideal performance state and how being able to put ourselves into the ideal performance state can not only assist us in interaction in anything we do that may be anxiety oriented, but for testing for kids, for sports, of course, for you probably dealing with spouses and emotional abuse situations as well, right? It really could put you where you're focused and you're in that zone, as they say, and you're just focused in the present moment. It almost has to be, Doc, that you have to be in the present moment to be in your ideal performance state.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. That's one of the dimensions of the ideal performance state. Because, well, let's say, I say that it's impossible to be nervous about something coming up unless you think about the future. And the future hasn't occurred yet, and so that's like a fantasy. But if a person thinks, well, okay, this is going to be a tough match, it's probably going to be a tough match. And where if they thought, well, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to be so good, I'm going to completely overpower them and just blow them out, then that's more likely to happen.
Right.
And there's all these components, and that's what in my book I do. I wrote it because parents would say, okay, our kids are killing it, but how do we be on the same page? So I really go through and describe all the different components of the ideal performance state and what you need to do to be able to get there. Like, for example, like we'll take a quick one example from sports. Let's say a defensive lineman, his ideal performance state is just madman, crazy, go kill.
Yeah.
You know,
Seen that.
Yeah, a quarterback though, they've got to be cool. They've got to think. They have to go through all their reads, and if they get frazzled or get distracted or get out of their ideal performance state, then they'll miss reads. And you see this receiver out there doing jumping jacks, going, here I am, and the quarterback doesn't see him because they're not in their ideal performance state. They're too stressed out. For taking tests. There's an old saying that anxiety unplugs the computer. So for taking tests, there's this ideal performance state, which would be calm, which would be believing that things are going to go well, you know, because that will help a person be calm and be productive. So there's different ideal performance states for almost everything.
So what are some of the ways, Doc, that you do? Like if you sat down right now and I'm like I have to take a test. I'm a college kid and I got to take a test tomorrow, and I studied, but I'm just so worried about failing, and I know the information, but I just feel like I'm not. It's not going to come to me when the question comes.
Yeah,
you know?
you're worried that it's not going to come to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I said, and I've done this before with people taking tests, I say go ahead and get there early and get settled in. Get so you feel comfortable with the environment. See, so you're getting comfort. And I said, then believe that you're studying and you know that you just learned a whole lot, and believe that that information is just going to flow naturally. And then just focus in the moment. Don't think about the future, like, oh, what if anything bad happens. Focus on each test or each test question, and block everything else out. So if a person is in a calm state, not anxious, so you unplug the computer, and then the information is going to flow more easily.
So that's one dimension. Now, what about the other dimension of the self-talk? What should be going on in my head at that
Well,
point?
and self-talk, we tend to believe our self-talk. Okay,
Yeah. And most of it's negative or harmful, right?
Most of it is negative, or it's fear talk.
Fear talk,
fantasies about the future. And so with self-talk, you'd want to say to yourself and believe it that things are going to go well. I'm fully prepared for this.
Would you say to fake it till you make it, as they say in different scenarios? Because if I'm saying to myself, I'm anxious about taking this test, and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to fail it, but I know by talking to you, I need to reprogram my thoughts by saying, this is going to be much easier than I realize. I'm going to do well in this. And at the same time, I have this kind of duality going on. The devil saying I'm going to fail, and the angel saying you're going to do great. But if that is occurring, do you keep saying it? I can't keep saying what the positive one should be, and do you believe it?
Yep. Fake it till you make it.
Okay.
There's another example we can use of how you want to be mentally. Let's say a baseball player going to the plate.
Yeah.
Okay. If he's thinking about, oh wow, this is so important, I really got to get a hit or home run. He's already distracting himself. He's thinking about the future. He's probably going to get anxious, rather than go to the plate. Ones I've worked with have said, well, what they do at the plate when they're hitting well is they're just watching the ball come out of the pitcher's hand and maybe thinking no, 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 and then yes when it's time to take the swing or something like that. Totally different things that they're thinking about, and it's very present-centered.
Right, and present-centered being the key word, because as I said earlier, the subconscious mind gives you everything you want, but if it believes, it only lives in the present moment, and if it only believes that you're not going to swing, you're going to pull your arm down, and that's because that's what you always do, and that's what you always will do, then that's what you will do, right? But it just seems such a...
Or you'll be worrying about it so much that you'll miss the ball coming in.
Yeah. I should have put my arm down. I should have focused on... I got the swing down, but now I'm not looking at the ball, right?
Yeah.
So how do you know when you're in this ideal performance state?
Well, when people are...
Because I'm sure things don't always go well. I mean, you may still lose a game and be in your ideal performance state, right?
Yeah, that's possible, but you're going to play at your highest level of ability. You can't maybe control, let's say if it's a tennis match, control how the other person's playing.
Sure.
But what you can control is to be at your very best. And that's what being in the ideal performance state is all about. It's the focus, mind-body focus, to be able to be your best and put your best out. And that's all you can really ask for.
Right.
And so, like, for a test, like, you say, well, when you're having the two minds, like, oh no, this is going to be horrible, and I'm not going to remember anything, or I'm going to be able to remember everything. What you do is focus in the moment and then believe that things are going to go well. And things are going to go as well as they're going to go.
At the foundation and on our community, we talk about the intention scale. And the intention scale measures your belief in the outcome of this intention that you want to manifest. And it goes from definitely not to not likely to maybe to likely to definitely. And so this knowing scale, if for a better word, really it kind of goes in line with what you're talking about, because when you're in a knowing, you know something's going to happen, even though it hasn't happened yet, right? But you know it's going to happen. That's when you're synced your subconscious belief on that intention or that belief with your conscious belief at that moment. Because when there's doubt, is when you're not at 100% concentration. How can you be in the ideal performance state if you're in doubt?
You can't, because that's future thinking. You're in doubt about how things are going to
Doubt
go
equals
well.
future.
Yeah, it's, you're back in the future. So what you want to do is be centered, and then the intention, have an intention about how things are going to happen or what's going to happen. That employs the it's called the self-fulfilling prophecy in humans. Is that we tend to automatically create what we believe is going to happen. So if you really focus on, this is what I want, this is my intention, and occupy your mind with all of that, you're going to tend to flow that way.
Well, you know, and you've seen success, so you know it works.
Yeah.
The question is, it's just not out there enough. I mean, people
right.
see it. People see people like, you know, like I said, Michael Jordan in the performance state, and wow, this guy's like, you know, Tiger Woods when he was doing golf, when he was in it. Lately, maybe not been in the ideal performance state, but when he was in the ideal performance state, he was hitting it, right? And so we take it for granted that we're not inside somebody's head, so we cannot really know what they're thinking, or if they've been trained on this level as well. So what's your, we got about a minute or so left here, what's your way, how you need to get this information out there to people to understand this, to get themselves in this ideal performance state, and what are the best ways for people to do and go if they want to get more help and attention on this?
Well, basically the book was written for parents, even though it applies to everything in life, but it's for parents to be able to coach their kids of how they want to think. You know, a kid goes, well, Mommy, I'm worried about this, you know, this competition coming out. You say, well, don't worry about that. It's going to go well. Think about the positive things. Think about what you want to do and how that's going to happen. So you get refocused.
So people could reach you, Dr. Millhouse, at what's the best way to reach you?
At my email, it's drmillhouse at comcast.net.
Okay, and they can learn more about that, or go to Amazon and check out the book online. Thank you for listening to the Good Intentions Show. I'm Tim Ray, and remember, your perception creates your reality. So you change your perception, you can change your reality. We'll see you soon. Until next time, take care.